So welcome everyone. Welcome to this webinar on socially responsible investing, sustaining investment in the Bourstad Challenge on the Bourstad platform. For this webinar, we have the pleasure to greet Mr. Thomas Estinès from Groupe Investissement Responsable. Hello, Mr. Estinès.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Fine. Would you like to say a few words about what you do at Groupe Investissement Responsable?
Sure. So I've been co-CEO of GIR, Groupe Investissement Responsable, since 2020. I've been working there, though, since 2013 as an employee, but I had the opportunity to take back ownership and management with a transition from my ex-CEO. What we do, so basically our core activity is proxy voting, so voting on behalf of investors at the AGM, so the annual meeting of the companies they invest in. And why do they do it? Because for two things: to protect their interests, because most of the proposals that are submitted and discussed at the annual meeting have an impact on the value of the companies, and also to have a say on some of the topics. I'm thinking about environmental and social issues. They push topics to enhance the practices of the companies. I'll say a few words after that, but that's it for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Estinès. So, as I mentioned before, I will start by just describing some concepts in sustaining investment, and also how sustaining investment is deployed on the Bourstad platform, and particularly how it will be assessed in the 2024 Bourstad Challenge. So I'll start by sharing my screen. So here I have that presentation, and as I mentioned, everybody's welcome to this webinar, and I will first describe some concept in responsible investment and how responsible investment is presented on the Bourstad platform, but also how it will be assessed in the Bourstad Challenge. And after my presentation, Mr. Estinès will present first the annual report that Groupe Investissement Responsable is producing every year on sustaining finance issues, and also the topic of shareholder proposals. As you may be aware, you will have to submit such a proposal in the qualification test for socially responsible investing. So let's start with the concepts. First, we talk about strategies, and there are three strategies that we can think of. Screening, which means that you're ready to decide about including or not including some firms, some stocks in your portfolio based on maybe what they are doing, or it could also be done taking into account how well they perform about the ESG factors. Active shareholding means that you're ready to be part of the shareholders of a company with the aim of being active in the AGM, as Thomas mentioned a few moments ago, either by voting on shareholder proposal or maybe by submitting yourself a shareholder proposal. And another strategy would be solidarity investment, meaning that you want to invest in firms that maybe are involved in fair trade or microcredit. These are such examples, but we also have venture workers' venture capital, like Fonds de Solidarité here in Quebec or Fonds d'Action, which are both proposed by great union federations in Quebec. And another part of responsible investment or sustainable development are ESG factors that we are hearing quite a lot about these factors since a few years. And we're talking about the environmental risks, the social risk, and the corporate governance risk. Three types of extra financial risk which portfolio managers have to take into account when they make decisions about their portfolios. And for a few years, we have seen some real industrial strategies emerge about sustainable development. We're talking about clean technology clusters in many cities around the world. We have 3 such clusters in Canada, one in Montreal, another in Toronto, and the third one in Vancouver. These clusters will just join forces, maybe to lobby for some new regulations promoting better environment practices, or they may join forces about, let's say, green procurement. The group to have a bigger purchase power when they meet with suppliers. And another such strategy is circular economy, of which we will be talking in a few moments. So the strategies of responsible investing are screening. Screening can be done about goods and services. You may identify some goods or services that you don't want to include in your portfolio, like weapons, nuclear energy, or tobacco, and some other such industries that you're ready to favor, like green technologies, electric vehicles, or organic food, for example. Screening can also be done using ESG performance. So when you opt for such a strategy, you are ready to look every industries and try to identify firms with better performance about ESG in these industries. The second type of strategy is shareholder activism, meaning that you would like to go to the general assemblies of shareholders, vote on proposals according to your values. It can go eventually to submit yourself proposals at the AGM or engage in some form of dialogue with the board or the CEOs or their deputies, in fact. And the third type, as I mentioned, is solidarity investment. When we talk about extra financial risks, the first one of these is our environmental risks. The main of those risks are climate change, water pollution, air pollution, contaminations, also the preservation of biodiversity. The industries that are most at risk for these particular risks are oil and gas, electricity, mining and metals, cement, mining, forest products. So we're talking about those industries very close to natural resources, mostly. Second type of such risks, extra financial risks, are social risks. So the main of these risks are workers' rights, complicity in the violations of human rights, or community relations. And the type of industries mostly concerned are manufacturing, clothing, toys, and electronics, mostly done in emerging countries, as we know, where maybe the code about working is not so strict as what we have in the developed countries. So complicity in the violation of human rights and community relations will concern mostly oil and gas and mines, because we know that these activities may endanger, let's say, water supply, the water supply of these communities, or maybe some other public good on which they rely. And also, frequently, we know that these activities are done not in large cities, but in regional part in the country, in the countryside. And it means that frequently these are quite small cities, and those firms can have a very big impact in those cities. So, in fact, they have a big weight in what is being decided in those communities. So, they need to think about establishing a good relation with these communities. And finally, we're talking about corporate governance risks. Every year, maybe on the first or second working day of the year, we learn about those CEOs that have already earned the salary of their workers for the whole year, after a few hours mostly. And so excessive remuneration of the CEO is one of those risks. A board of directors composed of a majority of members related to management. So those businesses where ownership is concentrated in a single individual or family. We know that most firms will start as a family business, and it's the case for all the big corporations we know nowadays, like Hewlett Packard, Johnson & Johnson. They all started as a family firm mostly, but eventually those firms has access the status of professional firms. And when it's not the case, frequently there's not sufficient separation between ownership, the board of directors, and between the board of directors and the high management of the corporation. So normally there should be some separation between these three parts of the functioning of a professional, of a modern corporation, modern firm. And finally, the tax havens. Tax havens, all sectors may be concerns about tax havens, but especially financial institutions. On this presentation, you'll find some links. I will not follow these links as we speak, but you'll have access to the PDF version of the presentation where the links will be active. Okay, let's say a few words about the clean technology clusters. Different types of industries join forces, like efficient energy, renewable energy, green chemicals, green transportation, water management, air technology, industries working on air liquid, for example, soil management, waste management. So these firms build clusters, in fact, or associations, and they may try to lobby for more regulation about a cleaner environment. And they also may do some other type of association about procurement and negotiating with suppliers, for instance, or maybe negotiating with the financial services industry. Okay, circular economy. We may think about first rethink. So think from the conception on to the other stages, like extraction, manufacturing, distribution, and the use of the product. And there'll be some thinking about optimizing, so intensify the product use, by sharing and collaborating about using the product, maybe renting instead of buying, since a product that is rented is used by a great number of people instead of, if you own a car, most of the time the car will stand idle in your doorway, and so most of the time the car is not used, in fact. But if you are part of the Uber system, maybe you'll share the usage of the car with many people that want to use the service you are offering. Extend the life of products and components by repairing, by maintenance, maybe donating what you're not using anymore, reselling, refurbishing. There's also what we call the performance economy, in which firms, instead of selling their product, will maybe just sell the usage of the product to their customers, to households, like maybe a firm that builds household appliances will just rent, in fact, dishwashers to households, and when eventually they will just retake the dishwasher to refurbish it with the newer technology and propose the product to some other households. Eventually, to give resources a new life, just recycling, recovering, composting, these are all ways of a circular economy. Okay, so these strategies like collaborative or sharing economy, performance service economy, those firms that instead of selling what they build, they will just rent it to households and eventually retake the appliance, refurbish the appliance and propose it to some other customer. But eventually repairing, remanufacturing, reconditioning is also a strategy as it by itself. Industrial symbiosis would be different industrial activities that are related. Let's say a forest companies, forest product companies that will make some type of arrangement with a firm that will use the waste of the forest companies, the forest product companies, just to produce renewable energy. Okay, and finally, recycling is another of these strategies. Okay, let's say a few words about responsible investment in the Bourstad Challenge. So we have a guide to responsible investment. There are the concept of responsible investment that I just presented. All responsible investment is deployed on the Bourstad platform. And finally, the qualification test for the responsible investment in the 2024 Bourstad Challenge. Okay, so the 2024 Responsible Investment Guide is made of 9 sections. So we define in responsible investment, we describe the strategies, we say a few words about historical events in the evolution of socially responsible investing. We talk about ESG performance and how ESG is evaluated. We present some responsible investment specialists like Groupe Investissement responsable, for example. And there are 2 chapters or 2 sections about emerging strategies, so clean technology clusters and circular economy. And finally, we say a few words about how you can invest socially with the socially investing, sustaining investment in the Bourstad Challenge, how you can take into account your values by investing in the Bourstad Challenge. Okay, in this guide, we had the opportunity to include 2 sections. They have been translated in English from a collaborative work published by CIRANO in 2019, Le développement durable à l'ère des changements climatiques. If you want to access this old book, by clicking on the link on this page, you will have the opportunity to download the whole book. Many chapters. In fact, we have used 2 of these chapters, but there are something like 20 chapters in that book. Okay, responsible investment in Bourstad simulations. So we have the responsible investment guide, and this guide is available to anyone with an account on the Bourstad platform. Anyone that log on the platform can consult this responsible investment guide. And there are a few aspects of responsible investment in portfolio management. So you have to indicate how aware is that person who has entrusted you with 200,000 Canadian dollars to manage. How aware is that person about responsible investment? Is that person sensible to that aspect of investment? And you, as a portfolio manager, you have to indicate, will you take into account the extra financial risk in building your portfolio? Even if your investor is not very much aware of what is responsible investment, whenever the firm you have invested in is reporting false financial statement, there'll be a big impact on the stock price, and you'll certainly be called to answer to your management of the portfolio. And you have the opportunity every time you make a transaction to provide justification according to ESG factors. In the 2024 Bourstad Challenge, there will be an online qualification questionnaire that will be administered between March 11 and March 24. And this questionnaire will include something like 40 questions, including 2 essay questions. So, and it will be evaluated automatically. And there will be some prizes for high school and college students. So the first grand prize will be $1,000, the second grand prize, $500. And we have such prizes for both high school and college students. And also, if you are part of the general public version of the Bourstad Challenge, there will be 1 grand prize that will come with $1,000. Okay, if you want to provide ESG justifications for your trades, you can do so with environmental aspects, social aspects, or governance aspects. You have some example on this slide, and maybe you can look at it if you get the PDF version of the presentation. The qualification test for the responsible investment component of Bourstad, as I mentioned, it's something like 40 objective questions and 2 structured essay questions. And the administration period, it will start on March 11 at 8 a.m. And I mean, we'll be in Eastern Daylight Saving Time by next Monday, and it ends on March 24, 2024, by the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. There is some access control, meaning that only participants in the 2024 Bourstad Challenge can pass this test. If you are a member of a tandem in the Bourstad Challenge, you can take the test, but you have to do so individually. I mean, the responsible investment component of Bourstad is an individual component, even if you are participating in the challenge as member of a tandem. You have 2 attempts to pass the test, and there is a time limit of 90 minutes to do so every time you attempt to pass the test. The 2 essay questions, the first one is about a shareholder proposal for a company traded in the 2024 Bourstad Challenge. And the second one asks you to present 3 current issues in responsible investment and sustainable development. And there is a communique on the documentation system with the exact wording of these questions. So where do you find this press release? It's in the documentation. Every person with an account on the platform can see that document. Click on documentation, how it works, online release of the qualification test for the responsible investment component. And there is also guidelines that you can already see if you log on to your account in the Bourstad Challenge. To see these guidelines, you have to click on responsible investment test in the simulation group of the participant menu. So you will then the guideline will display in the principal component of the screen. Okay. Now we are ready to hear Mr. Estinès. As Mr. Estinès mentioned in his own presentation at the beginning of the webinar, he is the co-general manager, co-CEO of the Groupe Investissement Responsable. He has been working at this group since 2013. He was also responsible investment analyst at Desjardins between 2013 and 2016, and has been a member of the jury of the Bourstad Challenge since 2016. Mr. Estinès.
Thank you. I will share my screen now. Yes, is it okay? I think so. I'll try to speak loud because I guess my mic is not okay. Okay, so just a few words to start what we do. As I said, our main activity is proxy voting. So GIR has been established in Montreal since 2000, so almost celebrating a quarter century in next year. So we are 6 permanent employees, and we recruit staff for what we call proxy season. So basically, the first semester, January to June, we have around 40 clients all across Canada, and we vote around 3,000 meetings per year. So we are employee-owned company, as my colleague Etienne and I own the majority of the shares. Share is an NGO based in Toronto and Vancouver. They focus on shareholder engagement. So it's making investors and companies discuss on ESG topics, basically. And the private holding is the former CEO, Olivier, who is still the chair of the board. So as I said, the vote in blue is the main activity. Around 75% of our activity is voting. Besides, so out of proxy season, we do research through portfolio review and ESG analysis and ESG ratings, and also consulting depending on the needs of our clients. So our clients, as I said, across Canada, 1/3 are asset managers. There are also pension plans, unions, foundations, and religious communities. So basically, any kind of institutional investors That's it. So no individual interest. And this one may be more important for you. The link you can consult. It brings you to our publication page on our website. It's where we keep all our publication, and especially until last year, we published this annual, this 50 pages annual report on ESG issues. So definitely a source of inspiration. This year, starting from this year, we are changing the format. So it's not one big report, but four what we get, not white paper, but 4 articles or smaller reports on a specific topic. So there's already one on the living wage, another one on artificial intelligence coming, and another one on the pharmaceutical sector. So smaller publication, but around 4 throughout the year. So you on the, as Mr. Bourget said, 2 things are expected from you. The first one, I don't remember first one being to present 3 topics related to responsible investment. Here are links that you can that you should consult just to get some inspiration. So the first one, very useful on corporate governance, the blog from the Harvard Law School. They post or repost articles, papers from different law firms, they studies. So they curate this content, and they do, like, I think they publish several per week, because there is a weekly update. So very useful. The other one on Davis governance and the conference board, more specific on corporate governance, but board related topics. Also interesting. On climate change, I put only 2, but maybe the most important. I see a question. Is it? Oh. There's a question about the PowerPoint. It will be accessible on CIRANO website. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. Sure. Yeah, tout à fait.
Right. Okay. So yeah, the Felix, the PowerPoints will be available, if not tomorrow, next week, on the CIRANO website.
It will also be broadcast in the notification system of the Bourstad platform.
Of the Bourstad platform. Okay, right. Ignore that. You're welcome. On climate change, I only put 2 links, but there are basically more. Just the one we use more. SBTI, so Science-Based Target Initiative, initiative from to challenge companies. So they adopt targets for reaching net zero emission. And the other one, Climate Action 100+, an initiative from shareholders, so gathering of investors who are targeting the 100 most emitting companies in the world. And so they analyze them on 11 different criteria. Each one being which criteria being like 2 or 3 different questions that they look after. And so they are evaluated on this grid. So these are very useful, very useful. On more social topic, the Business and Human Rights Resource Center. So heavy source of content, maybe a bit complicated to navigate because there is so much data in there, and so they gather articles, reports, all sort of data related to human rights, especially. So of course it has implication on environmental topics and governance also, but they focus on human rights. The last one, more very specific, influence map is very well made. Very easy to navigate, but only on lobbying question. But this is more more and more important. Well, not more and more, but especially important this year as it's an election in the US. So you have huge flows of money going from corporations to candidates or to political parties. So very useful to see that now. Another one, the Zicklin index on the political contribution, so a bit similar. On the supply chain issues, know the chain. And on the penalties is very well done. It's not super beautiful, but it tracks all the penalties given to corporations. So it goes from like $10,000 for I don't know what to several $1,000,000 for a settling on a court. So very useful. And the last one on tax havens, maybe less up to date since it dates back a bit, but still useful to see which companies owns what in tax havens. Oops. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'll switch to shareholder proposal. So that's the second thing. Be able to draft a shareholder proposal. So basically, you have to pick a company in your portfolio, identify a topic, either environmental, social, or corporate governance topic, and make a request to the company. So ask them to do something or to disclose something so that it benefits all investors and they have a better idea of where they invest their money. So you have different sources here. The main proponents I put in the either Canada or in the US, MEDAC, so based in Montreal. The other one are US based. I could have mentioned a share, well, which is a lower. But basically, as you saw, is an NGO based in the US, very active. Mercy, Harrington, and Trillium are investment firms, but focusing on responsible investment. But they submit a lot of shareholder proposal. And you have also CIRANO, they do not submit proposal, but they gather investors to make a campaign, to make pressure on companies. ICCR, so it's a faith-based gathering of investors. Very active, just like CIRANO, very active. Share, as I talked about, they had several proposals that had support from not a majority, but at least 30-40% of investors last year. So always good content here. And the last one, a bit less active, but still interesting. So here you can find different topics that they've been working on. So maybe it will give you inspiration for your assignment. Here it's how to find. So if you want to go further, how to find the proper document. So if you want to see examples of what the shareholder proposal looked like, so I did a screenshot, but just how to find this content. So for US companies, go on Edgar, which is the tool from the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, where all the US companies have to disclose and to upload their all their reports, their documents. They have to put them on Edgar. And for Canada, it is called CEDAR Plus. So same principle. So you go there. Basically, there is a search engine. You enter the name of the company, and then you find the document. So what you're looking at is the circular or proxy statement. So management circular here or proxy statement. This is where you will find the shareholder proposal from last year. Annual report, no, but it will still give you insight on the company. So still useful. Other sources of inspiration for you, press articles, of course. You type the name of the company and a lawsuit to see if there is a challenge in court, controversy. So anything you can, keywords, you can type that. I'm sorry. Okay, well, another one very interesting, proxy monitor. So this is a free tool. It gathers shareholder proposal from what we call the Fortune 250. So it's the 250 companies with the highest revenues in the US. So proxy monitor, very useful. The other one, similar process, so especially on the what we call yeah, the translation is not super great. I will change it. Every year, shareholder can vote on the executive compensation. So it's called say on pay. And generally, the results are above 90% in favor, if not 95% in favor of these proposals. So anything below 70% is seen as an act of I would say lack of confidence from the shareholders. And even some companies lose their sound pay. So basically, they receive less than a majority of votes for this proposal. So Semler Brossi, they do gather all these results. And to finish, ECO, one of our partners, they do shareholder engagement, just like Share. They're based in Montreal, a bit of the same size as us. And they have this great activity report that you can consult. And to finish, this is like a Pandora box, corpgov.net. I don't know how many links on not only corporate governance, but on all the topics you could imagine. So if you really lack any idea after that, go to corpgov.net and you will find what you want. Basically, I would go, if I were you, I would go on Proxy Monitor. It gives you links to shareholder proposal from last year, even some from this year. So very easy and useful. Just to finish, a bit more context on the shareholder proposal. So at an annual meeting, a typical annual meeting is three things: electing the board of directors, ratify the auditor, so who will audit the financial statement, and as I said, vote on the executive compensation, so how much the executives are paid. And sometimes shareholders, well, most of the time they are allowed to submit their own proposal, but they don't do it all the time. But when they do for basically three things: either to ask for more information, so they ask for more transparent, basically, or they want to challenge the company on a particular topic. So let's say one good example is I think RBI, so Restaurant Brands International, who owns Tim Hortons and Burger King. So they made this commitment to reduce, to to reduce the number of, so they had a target basically on the chicken that was raised outside. So not to reduce, but to increase it, and to reduce the number of chicken raised in cage. And basically, I think 1 year before the term of this engagement, they were not halfway through their target. So one of the shareholders asked them to more information and what was the update on this project, especially that they, like, I think 2 years before, they stopped tracking this specific data because they knew they were not able to reach it. So they asked for accountability. And another reason would be to show satisfaction or disagreement. So if the investor does not agree with the direction the company is taking, they may submit a shareholder proposal. On the right part of the table, I put some of the highest result from last year. I will not go through everything, just to mention the first one, Cenovus. You see the result, 99%. So this is very rare, since what happened is that the management recommended to vote for the proposal. Most of the time, what happened is that the management or the board, they recommend to vote for their own proposal, but they recommend to vote against shareholder proposal. Just for a question of basically ego, because they want to keep the hand on their hand on the agenda. So if they find an idea great or useful, they would sit with the investor and ask them to withdraw, and they would submit it themselves. But what happened with Cenovus is that the management basically agreed to let this shareholder proposal on the ballot, and they recommended to vote for. So to align the lobbying activities of the company with the net zero target of that was adopted by Cenovus. Which resulted in 99% vote in favor, because some, if not most, investors do not take care of their votes, and they vote automatically through their bank according to what the management recommends. So all these investors that do not take care of their vote, they automatically voted for the proposal, which resulted in a high support of 99%. But you see the rest, 41 would be the best result in Canada last year. You can go very low, but what I've seen for like the 10 years I've been in this business is that the average in the US and Canada has been increasing. Maybe when I started early to 2010, it was around maybe 10-15% support. Now we are easily over 20% on average. So we see, more investors are conscious of these impacts, and they're voting in favor. Just to finish, and this is maybe I should have talked to you about this sooner, but this is what is expected, well, in part from you. So this is what a shareholder proposal looks like. So here you have the title, shareholder proposal to report on the reduction of plastics use. The proponent, it's Saybrook. The preamble, you can skip that. It's not compulsory, but here it gives context on why they submitted this proposal. You have the proposal itself, where it's written resolved. So one sentence, and this is what is expected from you. Resolved. So shareholder request that blah blah blah, and the supporting statement also expected from you. So basically the argument. And after that, you have the board response, so the recommendation of the board and their own argument. So you can skip that. You don't have to take care of it. But what you have to do is maybe a title, but especially a proposal. So one sentence, what you are asking. So shareholder, as shareholder, we request and in one sentence, and your argument. So you see, it doesn't have to be. Well, here I cut because it was longer than that, but I cut it. But so you have to develop your thinking and your argument on why you ask this proposal. So the proposal and the argument. Proposal in one sentence and the argument. And that's it on my part.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Maybe I'll just go back to my own presentation because there's still a few information. Okay, so are there any questions about what has been presented either by Mr. Estinès or by myself at the beginning of the presentation? Are there any questions or comments? While you think about it, first, I want to thank Mr. Estinès for having shared his expertise with us tonight. Again, Mr. Estinès is co-CEO of the Groupe Investissement responsable. There were also two people at CIRANO involved in this event tonight. CIRANO Events Coordinator, Mrs. Émilie Grange, and the CIRANO Communications Coordinator, Mrs. Elina Caron. I know that we have a question now. What was RBI, Restaurant Brand International, at the end for Mr. Estinès? Do you see the question, Thomas?
So basically what they did is, I'm not sure even if they responded to the shareholder proposal. I don't know if your question is what is RBI or what did they do? So what did they do? I'm not sure. I would have to check, but you can easily find that if you check RBI cage. Well, I would have to check that, but oh, what is RBI? Okay, so it's the acronym of Restaurant Brands International. So it's the name of the company that owns Tim Hortons and Burger King.
I think that the stock symbol is QSR. I'm not sure. Why QSR? I have no idea why it's QSR, but the stock symbol is QSR. Okay. Other questions? Thanks for the clarification. Okay. So we are at the end of this webinar. So I want to thank all those who attended this third webinar of the Bourstad Challenge webinar series, and all those that will watch the recording of the webinar or have access to the presentation of Mr. Estinès or my own presentation eventually. Okay, so that's all for tonight. So thanks everyone. Bye now.